Stephanie White also lies to us, lies to Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark, she played the entire fourth quarter. Do you know what that tells me? That tells me minutes restriction.
That observation, that this looks like a calculated minutes restriction, is the spark that's starting to ignite real frustration among fans. When you see a star athlete glued to a specific plan, you have to ask if the organization is playing for the win or simply managing the optics of a season.
Monique Billings has probably lost all of her stock in this first half of the season. She's lost her worth has gone down significantly. I'm not even sure if you could trade Monique Billings for a bag of Cool Ranch Doritos, nacho cheese Doritos. You definitely can't get a bag of purple chips, a purple bag.
The blunt assessment of team personnel here is harsh, but it gets to the heart of a much bigger problem: value. When you have players on your roster who aren't producing, it doesn't just affect the scoreboard, it kills the team's momentum and forces the stars to shoulder an impossible burden. We are looking at a roster construction issue that is becoming impossible to ignore as the losses mount.
75-88, the Indiana Fever lose by 13. Never for 1 second feels like we were in this game. Now, our player of the game tonight was Sophie Cunningham. Our player of the game tonight was Sophie Cunningham. Kelsey Mitchell played like trash. Caitlin Clark, rough shooting night. Aaliyah Boston,
13 points. That is the margin of defeat, and it paints a clear picture of a team that simply didn't show up. It wasn't just a bad night at the office. It was an organized professional collapse. But the real question is why? Is it a lack of effort, a lack of chemistry, or are we watching the results of a coaching staff that is consistently being outmaneuvered every single time they step on the court?
Interesting, man. It's interesting when you take a look at some of these numbers here. So we have 12 points in a quarter. As I said, how do you score 12 points in a quarter with Caitlin Clark on your team, with Kelsey Mitchell?
It is genuinely baffling how a team with this much individual talent manages to struggle so significantly with basic execution. 12 points in a single quarter is a number that should be impossible for this lineup. Yet here we are. It's becoming a pattern where the pieces clearly don't fit the puzzle, and until someone acknowledges that the current scheme isn't working, these types of box scores will keep appearing.
Kelsey Mitchell playing 35 minutes, shooting 16 times, 7 for 16, quick math, 43% maybe. If I had $1 for every time she looked off CC today, I'd probably have $7. I'm not even gonna exaggerate.
Look at the usage rates and the shot selection. When you have players forcing shots that aren't landing and others being systematically iced out, you aren't just losing games, you are actively hindering the development of your biggest assets. The frustration expressed about looking off teammates isn't just a critique of one game. It's an indictment of the team's current culture on the floor.
But then she plays the entire fourth quarter because Stephanie White probably saw, oh, she's only at 15 minutes. And we said before the game that she's going to get 25 minutes. So we have to play her the whole entire fourth quarter. 10 minutes. Look, fine, 10 minutes. Look, played 10 minutes in the fourth quarter after coming up limping earlier in the game. Interesting. Very interesting. So you know what that tells me? Minutes restriction was bullshit. She doesn't need to get her minute.
Here is where the narrative shifts from simple bad play to something more suspicious. The medical justifications given by the team are being viewed by many as a smokescreen for something else. If the minutes restriction is supposedly for the player's safety, why—
Monique Billings, in 25 minutes, Monique Billings gives us 4 points, 5 rebounds. How much are we paying Monique Billings? In 22 minutes, Lexi Hull gives us 2 points, 1 rebound, 1 block.
When you look at the production-to-salary ratio for role players like Billings and Hall, the math simply doesn't add up for a team with championship aspirations. In a league where every possession matters, you cannot afford to have dead weight eating up significant minutes. This is a business, and right now, the return on investment for those roster spots is non-existent.
This was disgusting today. This was no effort, man. This team put in absolutely no effort today. They didn't care. They didn't have the will to win.
Lack of effort is a fatal flaw in professional sports. If the team doesn't care, why should the fans? We are seeing a disconnect between the coach's message and the player's actions. And that is usually the first sign of a team that is headed for a massive overhaul in the offseason. When the will to win vanishes, the scheme, the rotation, and the...
This is the play. Caitlin Clark coming up limping here. Takes it to the rack. Gets it. Comes down. Not sure if she came down awkwardly or what it was. But then she gets up limping on her way back. See? Caitlin Clark gets up limping on her way back. And then she has words for the referee. Demanding a foul on the other end.
That play and the subsequent reaction speaks volumes about the pressure cooker these players are currently in. While it's good to see a referee treat the situation with some level of professional restraint, the focus on the injury is the real concern.
Half court, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 dribbles right past Gabby Williams to the rack. Gabby Williams, who they say is a lockdown defender. Right past her to the rack. Caitlin Clark pulls up from deep. I want to see her take this to the... I know she's a sniper. I know she has ultimate confidence. Just, if your shot's not falling, just take it to the rack. Get an easy 2. Maybe you could draw a foul, get an and 1.
Sometimes the best play isn't the highlight reel shot from deep. It's the high percentage drive to the rim. It's about knowing when to be a sniper and when to be a bruiser. The fact that the shift to attacking the basket is even being discussed as an adjustment shows that the game is evolving, but the team's ability to adapt to those evolving needs remains questionable at best.
Oh, Chloe Peterson on CC's minutes restriction. Steph White says that's a medical decision with people on the medical team. She did not say whether CC or AB would sit in the back-to-back this weekend for rest, saying they'll see where they are from a recovery standpoint after the game. Folks, I wouldn't count on I would count on them flipping back-to-back. At this point, I don't know if we'll see CC ever play back-to-back this year. I don't know. But again, this whole it's a medical decision, I think that's a crock of shit.
We have to talk about the medical decision narrative, because it is the most contentious part of this entire situation. The team maintains that these are strictly professional, data-driven health choices. But when you compare the public explanation to the on-court reality, the discrepancies start to mount.
Stephanie White's a liar. The Indiana Fever are full of liars. I can't wait for Caitlin Clark to get out of here and get to a real organization.
When you reach the point where fans are actively discussing hoping for a trade or a move to a real organization, you have lost the narrative. The brand is suffering, the players are suffering, and the credibility of the entire franchise is on the line. It's easy to blame one coach or one player, but the reality is that the entire structure has become a lightning rod for criticism that isn't going to go away until the wins start stacking up.
And I know I'm about to leave, but it pisses me off because before she got hurt against the Mercury, she had a 7-game stretch of just heater after heater after heater after heater after heater. Seemed like she was really figuring out how to take that next step in this league. And then she gets the fist in the throat, and now we have these 3 last games where we're on minutes restriction, and we're all, what's going on here? Hopefully we're off minutes restriction and we get to see what we were.
Everything we've broken down today leads to one fundamental problem: momentum. After that 7-game stretch where it felt like things were finally clicking, this recent downturn feels even sharper. It's not just about the losses, it's about the wasted potential of those weeks. Now the question isn't just whether they can make the playoffs, but whether the foundation they've built is actually strong enough to support a real run, or if they are just delaying the inevitable restructuring that everyone seems to be talking about. We have to decide if we believe the official line that this is just a rough patch, or if the underlying issues with rotations, management, and team chemistry are too deep to fix this season. Do you think this is a genuine medical issue, or is the team playing a longer game with their roster? Drop a comment below, like the video if you want to see more breakdowns like this, and subscribe to stay in the loop for the next update.